America turns 250 years old, which means I'm 50. And I'm cranky about it. Get off my lawn!
No.
You're now listening to the Peach Pundit Podcast, where we are expressing our own personal opinions. These views may not reflect the opinions of those whom we may be professionally affiliated.
From the red clay roads to the Capitol Dome, Georgia's voice is right at home. For liberty, truth, and the work still to do, Buzz Brockway and Scot Turner bring the news to you. Peach Pundit, the podcast. Georgia politics, straight from the source.
Did I get you? Did I get you? I told Buzz I was going to surprise him. I didn't tell him what the surprise was.
Thought you were going to get all patriotic there at first when talking about the
I told
250th, but then you talked about how grumpy you are.
Well, I'm just an old bastard. But I'm super stoked about this week, celebrating the 4th of July. Big plans. Hope that you guys are going to be out there celebrating safely and patriotically. You only get one on your 250th birthday, right? You only get one.
There's only one semi-sesquicentennial that we'll live through.
See, you had to go there. I have a friend of mine who loves to use that word.
I finally learned how to pronounce it correctly, so I got to take advantage of it while I can.
Yeah, and it's not just this weekend. It's not just this week that we should be celebrating, because also next week, Greater Georgia has invited Buzz Brockway and Scot Turner to be speakers at their next 250 event conference.
Right.
And they gave us a promotion code.
Right.
So if you want to come to this awesome conference that Greater Georgia is putting on, head on over to greatergeorgia.com/next250. If you put in the Peach Pundit podcast code, you'll get a discount on your ticket.
Yes.
$75 as opposed to whatever they're charging. They just told us, they'll get a discount.
Yeah.
That's like free money.
That's free. It is free money. It's not like free money. It is free money.
Yeah. Go and come see us.
How can it be?
You can heckle us from the back.
Yep.
I've already seen some of the heckling on Twitter from the Election Integrity Industrial Complex.
Now, I was told, I won't reveal the source, but I was told this drew more negative reaction than inviting Speaker John Burns to the event. So,
is that right?
There you go. We're happy, Mr. Speaker. We're happy to take the bullets for you, so you don't have to.
Is that because we're normies, or is that because we don't think the 2020 election was? What's the?
Yeah, I'm sure it's the stolen election stuff.
Yeah,
which makes us normies more or less. But
yeah, I was asked today what I thought of my Club for Growth fellowship thus far, and I said, look, I felt like my people had been dwindled to near extinction. And when I talk about my people, I'm talking about limited government, constitutionally framed government, free market conservatives in the spirit of Ronald Reagan.
Right.
And I found my people at Club for Growth. And that's how I describe it. I'm
They're
so excited
folks.
to be part of that fellowship.
I wasn't part of their fellowship, but I did attend an event they put on in Rhode Island. Not Providence, but Rhode Island.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I know the feeling, Scott. I said, yes. They still exist. There are people out there who remember.
Oh, boy.
What it was like to be a proper country.
A lot of these folks that are in the EIIC, they like to act like they're speaking on behalf of other people.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that sets us apart from them isn't that we look at the election and election administration policy differently. It's that we don't claim to speak for other people. Right? We're giving you our takes. We're giving you our opinions. You may disagree. We actually like it when you disagree with us.
Yeah.
And tonight's podcast, I'm going to talk about how Greg Dolezal let me know he disagreed with me, and we're still friends. So
wow,
we're going to follow up. Yeah, we're going to follow up from a segment that happened last week. Thank you to Maya Prabhu for filling in for Buzz while he was away. And some of the things that were said during that, Greg took exception to. He let me know about it. So I'm going to fill you in on that. We're going to talk about where we are in the governor's race, some of the things we're seeing on the Jackson campaign that make him buzz and I smile. Ossoff fires the first salvo directly at Brandon Phillips in a very extended speech. We're going to talk about Brian Kemp potentially setting new records for suspending sheriffs in Georgia. Another headline hit recently that sort of got me questioning, is he setting a record? Like, has any other governor gotten close to the number of sheriffs suspended by a governor?
I don't think he wants that record, but here we are.
And then we had a whole bunch of Supreme Court rulings that we haven't really talked about. We're going to discuss them from the Georgia angle because Lord knows everything has a Georgia angle.
Mm-hmm.
So sit back, relax. We'll get right into it. First, I'm going to tell you about our friends at Americans for Prosperity who have opportunities to see Young Washington, a film about the young life of the father of our country. On Friday, July 3rd, they're going to be having a screening of that movie at the Canton AMC at 3:45. The other screening will be held at 7 p.m. at Collections at Forsyth in Cumming. And that one's going to actually be hosted by Concerned Veterans for America, Georgia. To RSVP to either of those, head on over to americansforprosperity.org and look at their events page. They said seating is limited for both, and they only have about 25 seats left at the Canton screening. So get on that fast. Thank you to our friends at Americans for Prosperity for being a partner-level Patreon. If you too would like to be a patron, head on over to patreon.com/peachpundit. Sign up for one of our tiers. We'll add you to our Signal chat. Welcome to Ken Carroll, who joined us this week.
Yes.
Excited to have him in there, and he's seeing what it's all about already. Then I think today they were talking about something about Highlander.
Well, a certain Patreon made a very skillful use of a Highlander reference, and it was awesome.
And you just got to be there.
Golden Retriever Rescue of Atlanta, GRRA, is an all-volunteer, tax-deductible charitable organization. They are dedicated to providing veterinary care, comprehensive evaluation, and foster and adoptive homes to golden and Labrador retrievers who are abandoned, mistreated, neglected, or left in shelters throughout Georgia. We encourage you to visit their website grra.com and help connect people and dogs that need each other in their lives. You truly can make this world a better place by helping find homes of gold for these golden-hearted pups.
Lo and behold, the first topic tonight is the state of the governor's race. I had reached out to somebody in the Jackson campaign for an update, and they're calling me right now. Oh, well. Sorry, lady. We're busy at the moment. I'll call you back later. You'll just have to be mad if I get it wrong.
Well, we can be like those open source intelligence guys. They just observe what they see and comment on that. So that's what we are.
Yeah, right. The ballad of Rick and Burt apparently continues. Yeah, we talked about this when you weren't here, Buzz, last week. Mm-hmm. And it was that there's this lawsuit, the $100 million defamation lawsuit. It's actually dueling defamation lawsuits. Yes. Jackson has sued Jones. Jones has countersued Jackson. With these lawsuits still pending, and apparently nothing really happening with them, it wasn't really shocking to learn from the AJC. Riley Bunch had a tweet that highlighted a quote from Rick Jackson saying, "I still haven't talked to Burt." From this week, still haven't talked to Burt, but I'm sure in November we'll be fighting on the same side. It's been a couple weeks now. Mm-hmm. It's been 2 weeks. Should there have been a burying of the hatchet? Are we going to see unity between these two ever? Or is that lawsuit just going to be the thing that keeps them from talking?
Wow. I mean, look, it was pretty clear during the campaign that they didn't really like each other. And it was...
Oh, I have it on good authority that Burt thinks very highly of Rick because he did a video saying so. Wink, wink.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's pretty clear they didn't really like each other, and
Right.
it more so than normal. I mean, there's always. I mean, I'm not all that concerned about it, Scott. Just to be honest with you, for a couple of reasons. First of all, this was an intense campaign, no doubt about it. And you mentioned it's been a couple of weeks now. Yeah, but it's only been a couple of weeks. And so I think that in due time, that will. I mean, look, we've seen all sorts of candidates bury the hatchet over the years and work together. But Rick Jackson I think is doing what he needs to do. The Democrats were trying to make hay out of this and saying, "Oh, the girls are fighting. The girls are fighting." And then, like almost as soon as they sent that tweet out, the entire Senate Republican caucus endorsed Rick Jackson, and then immediately there was another tweet with the entire House Republican caucus endorsed Rick Jackson. Who's fighting? So you're left now, and Governor Kemp is on board. I mean, everybody's on board.
Collins is on board.
Yeah, the whole crowd is on board. Everybody's on board. Everybody's getting on board with Mike Collins as well. So, it's not. Do you really need? No offense to the Lieutenant Governor Jones, do you really need him? I mean, on board right now. Let him. In addition, he's dealing with a loss in his wife's family. I guess his wife's mother. Am I right about that?
Yes.
His wife's mother passed away, so our condolences to the
Absolutely.
Mrs. Jones and the Jones family.
Timing is
So
terrible.
he's dealing with stuff, right? So
Yep.
I don't think it's a big deal. It's things just like that tweet from the Democrats. It's silly things that political operatives talk about that the real people really don't care about.
Yeah. So let's just talk about what the Democrats are trying to say at the moment. They started attacking Rick Jackson immediately for basically disappearing, is what they're saying. Where's Rick? # where's Rick? It's like, touch grass. Like,
well, I'll tell you where he was. Well, I mean, one place he was at an African-American barbershop talking to people, shaking hands, shaking every hand and talking one-on-one with them.
Right.
Going after their voters.
That's
where
also,
he was. So they're terminally online. Rick's out talking to real people.
Right. Real people that don't follow Twitter, most likely. The other thing that happened that I thought was interesting is Shelley Winter had a momentary lapse of reason, momentary insanity. He started talking like he was going to endorse all these Democrats. I think at one point he actually said he was going to endorse.
Yeah,
Keisha
and I
Lance
think
Bottoms.
he's stuck. If I might be wrong, he's stuck with his endorsement of Ossoff.
Right.
But yes.
But he was going both barrels.
Yes.
And he backed off of that. He had Rick on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And on the show, Shelley Winter endorsed Rick Jackson.
Right.
So that was sort of the first public appearance Rick Jackson made was, oh yeah, and by the way, I'm flipping this guy who said he's previously voting for Keisha.
But he said, so Scott, to follow up on something that we talked about 2 weeks ago, you implored people, and I agreed with you 100%, we don't need to go back to the days of revenge politics.
Yes.
And Rick Jackson says something very interesting. He said, I don't hold it against anyone who supported Burt Jones. I don't hold it against any of them. They knew him for a long time. They had their own reasons for supporting. I don't hold it against any of them. There'll be no revenge or retribution. That's not how I operate. I'm just going to make the case to people. I want them to join me because I think we'll do good things.
Right.
So, bravo.
Right. And that's the message that everybody needs. I think the thing as a Georgia Politico that I'm missing is that moment on a stage with Casey Cagle and Brian Kemp holding each other's hands in the air.
Yeah.
I think that's such a powerful moment of unity that we just haven't gotten this time.
Yeah.
I hope it does happen.
I think we'll get it. We'll get it.
Jackson's social media campaign is on fire, though. Even if the candidate is out there just shaking hands, the team he's hired right now to do that work.
Yes.
You brought this to the chat, the first one. And us Gen Xers love ourselves some Office.
Right.
The NBC show The Office with Michael Scott.
Yes.
And it's a tweet where it shows Keisha Lance Bottoms talking about all these, the promises she's made. And it cuts to Michael Scott, who had promised a group of second graders when they graduate high school, he would pay for their college educations, Scott's tots. And he says, of all the empty, hollow promises I've ever made, that one was the most generous.
Yes. And look, this was a feature of his campaign since the beginning. His social media, they taunted. This will be a sore spot for the Burt Jones fans, but they taunted Burt Jones all the time, and it was hard not to laugh. And now I am so looking forward to the next couple of months as they just taunt Mayor Bottoms endlessly.
Because to us, politics is entertainment.
Yes.
So this is the entertaining part. We get to laugh.
But look, there's a serious part to it, right? Because the worst thing that can happen to you as a candidate is to have people laughing at you.
Yes.
And,
not with you.
Yes.
Their team apparently is very quick.
Yes.
Not only are they witty and have an excellent knowledge database to pull from these types of references. But today, a national headline story where it was this couple that scaled the radio tower at the top of the Empire State Building and unfurled a banner. Mm-hmm. And I guess the guy proposed to the girl at the top of the tower.
He did. Yes. It was,
and they unfurled this banner, and it had some message about love.
Yeah,
love and power.
Yeah, when the
power of love overpowers something. Yeah,
when the power of love overpowers it,
the love of
power.
The power
of love. Anyway, it's a stupid little phrase about love.
It's pretty hippie.
Love will bring about peace.
Right, but they photoshopped this to look very realistic.
Yes.
Or they used that generative AI or whatever, but it looks very realistic.
Yes. They
took the banner and they put Keisha let Atlanta burn.
Yes.
On the banner. You guys over there at the Jackson campaign.
Kudos, man.
You guys are doing a good job. We are in Gladiator. We are entertained.
Yes.
So the Democrats are usually better at this than Republicans, though.
Yeah.
Am I wrong about that? Like the whole parody stuff?
Yeah. So, I mean, social media has been their thing, right?
Yeah.
Skillfully getting their message out on social media. They have some very talented, look, AOC is very talented at getting her message out through skillful use of social media. And nice to see some Republicans doing it too.
Yeah, they really do. They are doing a good job. All right, here's the part of the podcast where I have to revisit last week's podcast. Last week's podcast, I described my experience in advocating for SB3EX for my day job on this podcast. And I described what I went through. I am not in caucus meetings. I am told sometimes by members of various caucuses what happens in those meetings. Obviously, they tell me what they want me to hear. I treat everything a legislator tells to me as off the record until they tell me they don't want me to be off. They don't want to be off the record. So I have hundreds of conversations a month with legislators, the vast majority of which you will never hear about. Sometimes they give me permission to say things on background, and I'll say, I spoke to a legislator that said blah, blah, blah. So last week, the way I framed it was through the lens of I have submitted an amendment to what the Senate had sent over to the House that would potentially use existing law for recounts as the basis of what the Senate wanted to do, which is mandatory recount for the top two races, no matter what. And so what actually ended up passing both chambers was a bill that was more tightly aligned to the margin of victory in current code than just mandatorily counting the top two races by hand, no matter how big the margin of victory was. This got Republicans in both chambers, enough of them and a handful of Democrats in both chambers to vote yes on the bill, and it was signed into law, and we averted a crisis. And what I had told the audience last week was, I was told an hour before the vote that there were 4 no votes, and that Greg Dolezal was among them, as well as Steve Gooch. And the only reason why I mentioned Gooch is because I spoke to Gooch. I was sitting on a bench outside of the chamber. Steve came up, sat down next to me, eating a banana. We talked through, and I asked him, I said, hey, I heard you're voting no. He did not indicate to me how he was voting during that conversation. Mm-hmm. I say that now to say I was working to see if and try to verify what I had been told was true. And Steve did not indicate to me he was going either way. Mm-hmm. But it left me with the impression that he was leaning no. Earlier in the day, I had gotten a text message from a senator who said that the caucus was good, that they were going to vote for it. So that hour period where I panicked, it was trying to whip votes to get a yes on the bill. In that hour period, I didn't have time to go to everybody. Mm-hmm. You're grabbing who's in front of you. Like there's a Democrat who's reasonable in front of you. Let me talk to her. Let me talk to him. Let me see how many of them I can get, because we got to get to 29 votes. So Greg tells me that 1 hour period was for nothing. He was never going to vote no as of the last day, the sine die of special session. It was his impression, or that he had told the caucus earlier in the day he was going to vote for what the House had passed. And he had been in contact with House members throughout that process to indicate where his concerns were, and they worked with him on it.
Yeah.
So when it was over, not knowing that part wasn't true, my take was it looked like Josh McLaurin put him in a box. Like he went up to the well, he gave this bipartisan speech. It was clearly a campaign speech. And with the intent, I'm certain we're going to see clips of that speech in political ads the rest of the summer at some point, if he's able to raise the money to put it on the air. So my take was, when he gave that speech, it sort of put him in a box. Like, okay, I can't let the Democrats take a win here. Mm-hmm. Greg's like, that was a wildly inaccurate take. Okay, that's fair. If that's the case, my experience in the hallways of the Gold Dome is different than being a legislator. I'm not in those rooms anymore, where the family discussions happen. I try to influence those by giving talking points to strengthen the position of the people who are allied with the better policy outcome, so that when they go into those environments, they can ask the questions or make the points and try to win people over. But I'm not in there. And also, things change so fast down there. This is not the first time where we thought we had a deal in place, only to find out an hour before the vote, we got work to do. Mm-hmm. That happens all the time. It's not an uncommon occurrence.
Right.
So my experience in this case didn't align with Greg Dolezal's experience. We talked it out like adults. And I appreciate him taking the call after he gave me that criticism. I still think Greg has work to do with the House. Mm-hmm. His perception was that there weren't broken deals. I haven't spoken to enough rank and file members of the House. They clearly believe there were broken deals. Like, he has work to do there. And I hope if he hears this, that he does the work.
Because in politics, as in life, perception is reality.
Right.
So,
and it didn't help, by the way, because one of my criticisms was the whole building is blaming Greg Dolezal for the amendment that was added to the floor in the Senate. Mm-hmm. And he sort of bristled at that. It's like the whole building, like that's over. No, really, the whole building. And part of the reason why is because Burt Jones tweeted out that it was Greg Dolezal's idea.
I support Greg Dolezal's amendment.
Right. So it wasn't like we didn't have primary sources there. Mm-hmm. Yep. I am told by more than one source that Burt Jones was not in caucus meetings. He didn't attend the caucus meetings, even though on the days he was there, he didn't attend.
Yeah. And there were several senators who signed on to the amendment. I forget the exact number, but 4 or 5 or so.
It was brought actually by leadership.
Yeah.
So,
and Senator Dolezal's name was on there, one of those. So,
right.
Who originated it? I don't know. I wasn't there.
So, based upon my experience, I stand by the take that I had, but clearly I did not have all the information, right? Mm-hmm. I would be foolish to not share the whole story with you and just try to tell you, well, this was my experience. That's not intellectually honest either. So do with the information what you will. I want to be as accurate as I possibly can. It is more important for me to be accurate than it is to have my ego stroked by claiming something that's untrue and then going down with the lie. Like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
In this case, I had more information. When we get back, we're going to talk about Jon Ossoff waxing eloquently about our favorite political consultant here at Peach Pundit.
Peach Pundit has an anonymous Patreon who would like to invite you to learn more about the Alzheimer's Association. The Alzheimer's Association leads the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementia by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. No one should fight Alzheimer's alone. With your help, no one will. Learn more on their website, alz.org.
That's brought to you by an anonymous Patreon who wants you to learn more about the Alzheimer's Association. If you want to be a Patreon, head on over to patreon.com/peachpundit. Sign up for one of our tiers. Our $10 listeners are in the backstage area. I saw a couple hearts pop up earlier when we were talking, so they're obviously reacting. There's a couple more. Look.
All right.
I don't know if you can see that on the YouTube video, but it's pretty cool here in the studio to see the hearts pop up. That's a new feature here at Riverside, the studio we use. Jon Ossoff.
Yeah.
Posted a video on his TikTok that goes on and on and on, at least 2 or 3 minutes, talking about the Mike Collins, Brandon Phillips relationship. And one of the comments that he says is that Brandon Phillips' violent past was so bad that he got fired from the Trump campaign, which for a Democratic-friendly audience got many laughs and guffaws. Here's the part of the podcast where I get to say, if only someone could have known. And Buzz tells me I'm overreacting.
Well, not overreacting is not the word I would use. I don't think if he thinks he can build his whole campaign on running against Brandon Phillips, that's stupid. Sure, take a shot at him. Absolutely. Maybe run some ads. Sure, whatever. But he goes on to, I think what he's doing, he's pivoting to, this is proof that Mike Collins is in his words, right here on his TikTok, Mike Collins is a bigot and an anti-Semite. That's quite a leap from a questionable hiring decision to Mike Collins is a bigot and anti-Semite. I don't see that leap there.
Well, the comments that Ossoff makes in the TikTok video also include Brandon Phillips' replacement as chief of staff.
Yeah.
And there was a story that broke a few weeks ago about this guy. I don't know the guy.
Yeah, I don't know him either.
He had apparently been using the congressional office to reduce the sentencing of a Holocaust denier of some sort.
Yeah, a guy named Charles Johnson.
Right. I don't know.
I always thought it was the guy, this shows my age. I thought it was the guy who used to run the website called Little Green Footballs. But apparently it's some other guy, some other Charles Johnson who is known to, accused of being an anti-Semite. So,
right. But to your point, and I don't want to belabor it too much, but campaigns are about a lot of different things. And if this is the attack, it's going to wear off. The impact will not be nearly as great.
Right.
A month and a half from now, if this is the only message.
Yep.
And honestly, I think especially Republican voters are so tired of everything getting us labeled anti-Semite, hate mongers, for having mainstream points of view. It has nothing to do with the Holocaust. I'm talking
where is Jon Ossoff calling out the real real anti-Semites? We have real anti-Semites on the right, okay, and we have called them out on this podcast. We're not going to rehash all that, but we have. Has he called out the anti-Semites in his own party?
Plattner, a woman who just knocked off an incumbent just last night in Denver. She said October 7th and the 9/11 attacks, the October 7th attacks by Hamas on Israel, the 9/11 attacks on the United States, we had it coming. Has he condemned that? John Fetterman sure has. Where's Jon Ossoff? And has he condemned? And it goes on and on and on and on and on with the squad and the affiliated people like that. And now the rise of these democratic socialists who deny the Holocaust and things like this. Has he condemned any of that? It's easy to throw stones at Mike Collins. Sure. Go right ahead. Everybody expects a Democrat to attack his Republican opponent. Does he have the guts to call out the people in his own party? Right. When it's very clear that exists.
Yeah.
I mean, Graham Plattner with the tattoo and some of the other comments he's made in his past.
Right. Now, look, I mean, Jeff, we have problems on our own side, but
sure.
I will say this. Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who have all said questionable, over-the-line things, all three of them, it says, I'm out. I'm no longer part of the Republican Party. Part of that is because rank-and-file Republicans said, you've lost your mind.
Right.
We don't want that.
They were getting tired of getting pushback.
Yes.
From people who identify as Republicans.
Right.
Because there's so much pushback.
As opposed to the rise of the Democratic Socialists, they're being celebrated and embraced in many quarters of the Democratic Party. So, yes, we criticize our own side a lot.
Right.
It would be nice to see some Democrats, other than John Fetterman and Esther Panich, stand up and have the guts to call out knuckleheads and anti-Semites on their side, too.
Somebody who's not afraid to take on people in power, apparently, is our own Governor Brian Kemp. We have watched this from time to time. He took on the national media and even the president over shutting down Georgia during COVID. The media was saying he's a bloodthirsty guy with death wish. You know, Brian Kemp's death. I think it's something like Brian Kemp's death wish was the headline in the Atlantic article.
Yeah, if I recall, it was an experiment in human sacrifice.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The guy has a backbone.
Yep.
The most popular elected official in every county is who?
The sheriff.
And it's not even close.
Not even close.
It is the sheriff. The sheriff will inevitably in every county, when it comes to re-election time, be the top vote getter in that county across the board. It doesn't matter if you're voting for president of the United States or for your county commissioner, or your state house race. Doesn't matter. Your sheriff is getting the most votes.
Yep.
We used to have a competition on who could get as many votes as our coroner in Cherokee County within our own house districts, because you're not getting as many as Frank Reynolds.
Right.
You can forget it. It's not happening. I actually texted Sheriff Reynolds one time, hey, could you save a few of those votes for the rest of us? Geesh. But Brian Kemp has again suspended another sheriff here in Georgia, this one for the second time. The Towns County Sheriff, Kenneth Henderson,
right?
Henderson, yes.
Yep.
Henderson was suspended for a second time. This makes 6 sheriffs for a total of 8 suspensions. That's got to be a record. It's got to be a record. The list is long. Let me read them to you. The first one came in 2019. Mark Cothran of Bacon County. Mm-hmm. Victor Hill, which we all know the story of Victor Hill.
Walking small, he gets himself in trouble a lot.
Clayton County, 2021. Richard Morgan, Miller County, 2022. Chad Nichols, Rabun County, 24. Kenneth Henderson, Towns County, first suspended in 25 and suspended again under a new order in June of 26, so last week. And Gerald Couch, Hall County, who was recently arrested for DUI.
Yeah.
And this isn't this is before he's suspended. He goes and asks a group of sheriffs. He first appoints a commission made up of sheriffs. What should I do here?
Right.
And they come back with the recommendations to suspend him.
Right.
But what does this say about the state of the sheriff in Georgia when we have like this many of them getting suspended by a Republican governor who's law and order as they come?
Yeah. I mean, I applaud the sheriffs who were asked to step forward and cast a judgment upon one of their colleagues for, recommending that, because they're trying to, protect the reputation of their profession as they should. So it's strange. I mean, as you mentioned, I don't remember, I was thinking back to, the Governor Deal days. He suspended some elected officials. Might have suspended Victor Hill once before us, maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't recall this many sheriffs being an 8-year stretch like Governor Kemp has governed during his 2 terms, having to suspend the sheriff so many times. I don't recall that happening. Maybe it has. I don't recall it.
Yeah, this Henderson one was interesting because this is the one where he got suspended a couple of years ago because there was a municipal police officer who had responded to an officer shooting. And when the sheriff got there, he shoved the municipal officer. And on the June 28th suspension that he just issued, the second one for Sheriff Henderson, it doesn't detail. It's
re-upping it. Right.
It's like new misconduct allegations were brought to his office. So we don't know the reasons why for the second one, but some of the others, this guy in Hall County, DUI.
Yeah.
Like getting pulled over by one of your own deputies.
Yeah.
For DUI.
Yep.
That is, the Hall County folks have actually begun a recall petition.
Yep.
Which is really only the first step. And it's not easy to do a recall in Georgia. Law requires they obtain signatures from 30% of the electorate from the last election for that office.
Well, look, it's sort of like impeachment, right? You want a high bar. You want there to be a consensus that this person needs to be, put back on the ballot to get a revote, which is what a recall essentially is, right? So you want a high bar, but that's a lot of work. That is a lot of signatures.
8 suspensions, 6 sheriffs.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a record. Somebody who has more knowledge of Georgia political history, let me know. I got to think it's getting close if it isn't.
Yeah, I got to think so. I mean, Governor Deal had to suspend a couple school boards, so there might be more total politicians, but
I don't remember him suspending a sheriff, though. But
I think he suspended Victor Hill the first time because we could do a whole podcast on speaking of ballads, the ballad of Victor Hill would be quite a long ballad.
Small. I love Walking Small. We got to talk about the Supreme Court of the United States.
Yes.
Because they've been active.
Some very interesting
It's wild to me to watch these decisions on Twitter and the reactions. We love this court. This is the best court ever. This court sucks. Amy Coney Barrett's a liberal. Like, what are you guys? It's just outrage all the time.
Yeah.
If you don't agree with them.
Yeah.
But we had a ruling around federal elections that may or may not impact Georgia. And this was the NRSC versus FEC. And this was a ruling that basically allows for more coordination between super PACs, IEs, and the campaigns that they support. Here in Georgia, that at the state level, that remains illegal. You can't coordinate here. But with the rise of leadership PACs that have largely replaced the parties here for fundraising, I noticed that Brian Tyson, who is one of the preeminent election and ethics law attorneys here in Georgia, had this interesting take on LinkedIn. I'm going to share what he wrote.
Right.
So this morning, the U.S. Supreme Court decided National Republican Senatorial Committee versus FEC, striking down federal limits on the money political parties can spend in coordination with their own candidates. Parties can now coordinate spending with their candidates without the federal dollar caps. changing how victory funds, joint fundraising, and party support can be structured. The court's reasoning also tightens the screws on any coordination limit. Expect this framework to surface in challenges to state-level rules too. And a Georgia angle, Georgia already takes a relatively permissive view of party spending on behalf of its ticket or a group of named candidates, but the logic could apply to other challenges on coordinated spending. If you run a campaign, independent committee, or PAC, this is a good moment to revisit how your coordinated activity is structured as we move deeper into the 2026 election cycle. So reading between the lines there, I think somebody's going to file a lawsuit.
Yeah.
At the state level, using the federal ruling as the basis for the suit.
Right. I mean, look, some of these, yes, they're not supposed to coordinate, but some of this stuff is ridiculous, right? I mean, campaigns will make available all sorts of B-roll film that magically shows up in ads, by various PACs and third-party groups. What James Talarico, the weirdo Senate candidate, was more or less begging and pleading. It sure would be great if an outside PAC came in and said this. So, no, that's not coordination.
I guess technically is not
I just gave a speech. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, there are, some of the rules are kind of ridiculous, but yeah, that's going to be an interesting case, Scott. I think probably not, as was said there, I think we'll probably see some state level lawsuits and probably more federal. This might not be the last time the Supreme Court rules on something like this.
If you're a super nerd and want to go into look at the code section that applies here in Georgia, it's OCGA 21-41J. And that's what allows the exception for parties to support their group, a party ticket or a group of candidates.
And you see weird things related to that. You'll see, I remember down the street was an early voting place. There was a Democratic sign. I can't remember the candidates, but it was the party saying, I think maybe it might have been the Supreme Court races. Democratic Party printed up signs, but if vote for our candidates for Supreme Court, little tiny print down the bottom, and also so and so for PSC. Microscopic print down the bottom, because
it was on the sign.
I bent over to look to see who paid for this sign, and it said, the Democratic Party of Georgia, and then who, also vote for so and so for PSC. That's strange. So those are the kind of things that happen to get around these strange rules, all flowing back in the day from the landmark McCain-Feingold campaign finance reform. That's what birthed this modern system here.
It's also interesting to note that the Georgia Republican Party filed an amicus brief in the NRSC case.
Interesting.
They highlighted that provision of the law, but they acknowledged remaining limits on party coordination for the state candidates are outside that limited exception. So maybe the party is a plaintiff.
Interesting. They might
to sort of challenge, based upon the ruling. So it's our caps here didn't go away. The restrictions on coordination didn't go away, but the federal that statute, that reasoning gives political parties a much stronger constitutional argument against the Georgia restrictions. So, and we're talking about freedom of speech here.
Yes, which was cited in the case.
Right.
Reaffirming that political contributions are speech.
I would not be surprised. David Amati's on his way out. Congratulations, David Amati, the chief over at the State Ethics Commission, for being appointed to the bench as a judge.
Yeah.
And he's on his way out. But I would not be surprised to see in very short order somebody ask the State Ethics Commission for an advisory opinion.
Right.
Now, again, federalism is a thing. You have state laws and you have federal laws. But a lot of times our courts here look at the federal cases and it's like, okay, we're going to get in line.
Well, yeah. And if there are ethics commission rules that and acting on their authority that now have run afoul of this ruling, that might have to change.
To be continued. Something to watch.
Indeed.
And it's interesting for those of us who watch campaigns, especially in this environment where you have a billionaire who said, I'm going to spend whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Now, I have heard he's backed off of that. He wants people to start contributing now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the average guy is going to write a $250 check to a billionaire, though, when he's out here humping it? He's,
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't.
Trump said he was gonna self-fund, and he raised a lot of money.
He continues to raise a lot of money. Apparently $1 million from Rick Jackson.
Yeah.
Recently.
Well, look, that might be a situation where Rick Jackson said that, and then Mrs. Jackson said, honey, what did you say?
You know what I like about the Jackson marriage is they both have their own jobs.
Yes.
Like she's at Georgia Tech as a professor, right?
Yes, she is.
She's like, I don't need this billionaire's money. I'm going to go make my own money. Shaping the minds of the people who will be calling Georgia graduates their employees soon.
Man,
did I just go there?
You did.
Sorry. Sometimes I can't help but stir the pudding. Another case was West Virginia v. BPJ.
Yes.
This is the girls' sports ruling, where the same Supreme Court majority that basically made the right angry in other rulings upheld Georgia's own Riley Gaines Act. Riley Gaines Act was not part of the case, I don't think.
No, it looks like it was the West Virginia, what they called the Save Women's Sports Act, passed in 2021, and an Idaho bill called Fairness in Women's Sports Act from 2020.
And we called ours a Riley Gaines Act because it was actually at Georgia Tech's campus where she placed fourth to a biological male in a women's swimming meet and was deprived of a third place podium finish. And Riley Gaines has been politically active here. She's not from Georgia. She's went to Kentucky and part of the SEC, whatever. But she's come here. She's testified. She's gotten relationships with legislators here in Georgia. They named a bill after her. It basically says biological males cannot compete in girls' sports.
Right.
And the Supreme Court said states are free to do that.
Yeah. Now, a lot of attention is on the 5-4 aspect of the decision, but there was a decision that was part of the decision that was 6-3 that says that schools may maintain women's and girls' sports teams exclusively for biological females, both under Title IX and the Equal Protection Clause. So there was broader agreement on that.
Right. But bottom line, the Georgia angle there is, looks like our law will stand up to any type of legal challenge. Here's an interesting one. It's not really Georgia-based. We don't have this problem in Georgia, but people talk about it all the time. This was the Watson versus the RNC. And what did it actually say about absentee ballots? So you have states like California, and I want to be very clear here that I think this is a terrible practice. States should not be doing this. This erodes election confidence faster than anything. It is a policy of accepting and counting ballots that are received after the polls close, sometimes a week or more after the polls close, or at least several days. This is problematic because you have what are considered results, and we could watch those things change as more of those ballots come in. And sometimes it flips the result that we thought we knew when we went to bed at 11 o'clock on Tuesday night, election day, only to wake up on Friday morning, Saturday morning, and the results changed because all these ballots came in afterwards. That type of flipping, even if it's legitimate, like that's the way that they count ballots there, causes people to doubt the outcomes.
Right.
And we've seen that play out over and over again. Specifically, California is probably the worst offender. And what the ruling was is that federal law doesn't prohibit that. It wasn't that the Supreme Court was blessing that practice and saying that that's a good practice. They were looking at the law as it is written, and they went so far as really, and I think one of the alternate dissents, they could change the law. But because the law does not prohibit it, states are free to do this specifically for federal races.
Yeah.
And there is an aspect of the Constitution that when it comes to federal races, Congress can act to tell the states how to run those elections. They haven't.
Well,
so
I would say, Scott, am I right? Am I reading this right? So the UOCAVA law, Uniformed and Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act, it was referenced in this in the majority opinion. That am I correct in saying that military and UOCAVA ballots were allowed to or required by federal law to receive those up until Friday of election week? Is that right?
So UOCAVA is a different animal, but there is a provision in the law that says, in the federal law, that says 3 days after polls close. So for the November 3rd general election, qualifying UOCAVA ballots may arrive by that Friday.
Right.
That would be the 3 full business days and still be counted.
Yes. So that was, part of Justice Barrett's argument was, we allow that
by federal law.
By federal law. So that this particular case, Watson versus RNC, was related to Mississippi law that allows ballots to be received up to 5 days after. So that's why they were saying, well, this doesn't really, we kind of allow this already by UOCAVA. You're receiving ballots after Election Day. So if a state decides they want to do the same, then that's up to them.
Right.
Right.
Here's the bottom line.
I would argue there's a difference. CAVA ballots is a much, much smaller number. You could have, who knows how many, thousands of ballots. You literally could see the results of an election change. Scenario that you described earlier, Scott, an election change based on absentee ballots trickling in over these 5 business days in Mississippi.
The bottom line, we have institutions of government, separation of powers.
Yep.
The court here is simply clearly stating what is in the law. If you want the law to be changed, there's this whole organization that we've created under our constitutional structure called the legislative branch that can actually change that.
Yes.
So don't get mad at the court for telling y'all what Congress did.
Right.
Be mad at Congress for not changing it.
Yeah.
And they have the authority to do so.
Yep.
Expressly.
Yes.
So refocus your energy.
Right.
Instead of calling for court packing or impeachment of judges and just because you don't like a ruling.
Right. And the left and the right.
Institutions.
The left and the right are doing that and have done that.
They continue to. And all it does is create a more distrust. Just embrace the fact that this country is a country governed by law and the Constitution, and that you have a court for the first time, regardless of the party that's bringing the case, that is saying, well, what does the law say?
Yes.
What does the Constitution say?
Yep.
And that's what they're using to guide themselves.
Yep.
This is the best Supreme Court in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's not even close because they're actually looking at what's there.
Right.
And they're not activists. They're not rewriting the law. They're not.
The real freak out was over the birthright citizenship ruling.
Yeah.
Saying that no, the way that America has done it for over 100 years cannot be wiped out by an executive order. Justice Kavanaugh wrote, Congress could change the law if they wanted to. So right directly to your point there, Scott.
Right.
If Congress has a problem with how birthright citizenship is implemented, they can do something about that. They can write a law to curtail it in certain fashions. But again, they went in that particular ruling. They went back to there were a number of documents detailing that how it's practiced today is how the framers of that amendment, the 14th Amendment, thought it would play out. Now, they probably didn't imagine somebody hopping on a plane and giving birth as they land. And so,
no, but there are ways
Congress
to deal with
that, right?
that are also humane. Like there's this idiot on Twitter who should be condemned for the things.
Sean Davis,
Sean Davis,
the Federalist, is preposterous.
It's an idiot. Sean Davis is a moron. for his take, which was sterilize people before they come to the United States. I'm not making that up. That's what he posted.
Said.
So, but we have seen through strenuous enforcement of the border and immigration laws that are already on the books that illegal immigration under the Trump administration has plummeted.
Right.
We're not seeing what we saw under Biden.
Right.
We're not even seeing what we saw under Trump the first time around. It has gone way down. Illegal border crossings, people trying to come here because they know if they come, they're not going to be as welcomed as they were in the past.
Right. You still have plummeting rates of illegal immigration.
Right. And so some of the activists on the right are posting this thing from, I guess it was a senator or Mr. Howard, one of the people that pushed for the 14th Amendment. And they highlight this. This will not, of course, include persons born in the United States who are foreigners, aliens who belong to the families of ambassadors or foreign ministers accredited to the government of the United States, but will include every other class of persons. It settles the great question of citizenship and removes all doubt as to what persons are or not citizens of the United States. This has long been the great desideratum in the jurisprudence and legislation of the country. I don't know if I said that correctly. I guess the key sentence that this will not, of course, include persons born in the United States who are foreigners.
Right.
But okay.
But then if you put that sentence in context, it seems to me he's referring to, because he mentions ambassadors, the agents of foreign nations who are visiting the United States, right?
Right. The jurisdiction thereof, right?
Right.
If you are born here and you're not from an embassy family,
right,
you're under jurisdiction of the United States.
Right.
You simply are. To say that somebody who is here illegally is not subject to arrest, is not subject to our laws. That's essentially what you're saying when you say they're not under our jurisdiction.
Yeah.
They are. As a matter of fact, they broke the law when they came here illegally.
Right.
And are subject to that law.
Yes.
And if found guilty of that crime, subject to penalties under that law.
Right.
So without jurisdiction, you can't prosecute them for breaking the law.
Yes.
Here's the question, I think, that is missed in this debate. What is the standard for being a United States citizen if it's not the fact that you were born here?
Right.
Because we know in our country's, in the darker chapters of our country's history, that sometimes we didn't treat people as people.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what gave birth, unintended, I suppose, to the 14th Amendment. It was a response to the Dred Scott case and the end of slavery.
Right. So,
and they were writing it to encompass all now at that time freed slaves and their offspring.
So the question I have for the people who are supportive of the opposite point of view, that birthright citizenship doesn't exist, is who do you want judging your American citizenship?
Mm-hmm.
What's the bar? How do you define it? Because at some point, a person who came here had us.
Yeah.
You know, you follow that chain back far enough. Like the logic, just thinking it through, the logic is, well, you can only be a citizen if you were born here of another citizen. At some point, you go back far enough and your parent wasn't a citizen unless you're a Native American.
Right.
That is something that I don't think is very clearly thought through. And what is the alternative? And so
do they, carrying that to its logical end, is every baby going to have, who's born in these United States, going to have to go take a citizenship test? Is that what they're saying?
See,
everybody born here is going to have to take a citizenship test?
I don't know what they're saying. It's black and white right now.
Right.
You're born here. Congratulations, you're an American citizen. That is in the category what I call a trade-off. We talk about this all the time. There is no perfect system. There are trade-offs.
Yep.
There are a relatively small number of human beings that are born through the birth tourism thing.
Right.
That get American citizenship that way. Was it right? I'll leave it to you to decide with your own value set. whether or not you think that's right or wrong. But the trade-off is, if it's not that black and white, what are we replacing it with?
Right.
For the rest of us. That's scary to me.
Mm-hmm.
I do not trust government. I don't trust the human beings that run government to get that right unless there is a black and white standard.
Right.
And so, yeah, are there instances where it gets abused?
Yep.
How big is that problem compared to the solution that it provides? Is that trade-off acceptable? And I got to tell you, for me, I'm willing to accept that trade-off.
Right.
Because otherwise, some Yahoo in some 11th Circuit Judicial Court gets to figure out for themselves what it means, and then it causes chaos, and we don't know what it means anymore.
Right.
It is black and white. It's been black and white since the moment it passed. If you're born here, you're under our jurisdiction, you get to be a U.S. citizen. If you're not under our jurisdiction, you're not.
Yeah. Right.
Anything else, and the trade-offs are too great, I think. If you want to learn more about this from a lawyer's perspective, Jason Shepard has written a piece over at the blog. You might have to search for it. It's a little bit older piece, but he breaks it down in the traditional sense. Like, this is what these are what the words mean. This is the case law that got us here. It's just something that I can't believe in the year 2026. We're still debating this. And also, here's the other part of it. If you don't like the way the 14th Amendment is written.
Yes.
I don't know if you're sensing a theme.
Yes.
By now. There's a process to change that.
Right.
That has been set up in the Constitution.
Right.
I mean, the 14th Amendment was added 14th.
Yes. Well, and this
100 years after, 80-something years after the first draft of the Constitution.
And I love, there was one description of this. This honestly, this ruling was not a surprise. Okay. And I heard it described as, it's like that scene in one of the Austin Power movies where there's a steamroller rolling very slowly, and this guy's just standing there screaming, where he could very easily step out of the way, but he's just standing there screaming like, oh no, I'm going to get run over by the steamroller. Oh my God. And then it runs him over. Everybody saw this coming. This ruling, probably the most predictable ruling of all the rulings that they've made this term because of the plain language of them. And
look, we got to get back, my fellow conservatives. We got to get back to advocating for the system.
Yes.
The constitutional system. Yep. For making these changes. We cannot get angry at the courts when the courts tell us what the words mean on the page.
Right.
It's so dumb to get mad at the judges who are doing the job the way it's supposed to be done.
Yep.
When you have the authority and power as the American people to go make that change, if there's enough support for it. And you got to go make that argument. The problem is, you sound like you're ranting when you make the arguments. And I don't think you fully thought through what it means to lose birthright citizenship here. Like,
yep.
What's the trade-off? How is it determined if we lose that? That's a sticky question.
Yep.
That I don't think people have really, really honestly thought through. Like, what does your own citizenship mean to you?
Yep.
How did you get it? How did you earn it? And you might have an answer. Well, I'd love to hear your answer.
And that's why I think that's part of why you've heard this rise in this stupid phrase called a heritage American.
I don't even know what that is.
There's these numbskulls on the NatCon right who say, oh, I'm a heritage American. That means that they've been here for generations, that their family's been here. Right. Where do you draw the line? Now, if you want to draw the line, my family I can draw a direct line back to a guy named Woolston Brockway who arrived from London, England in the year 1638. Okay. But is that really what we want? That you have to have existed here before the United States existed? Because guess what? Then Native Americans they could look at all of us and say, no, you're not a heritage American. We are. Get your butts out of here.
Right.
So you carry these things out to their logical ends and it's preposterous. So,
policy is about trade-offs. What are you willing to trade? Because you're not going to get it perfect. Never. It's never going to be perfect. So just tell me what the trade-offs are. Drop it in the comments. Send me an email. Scot@peachpundit.com. That's going to do it for us. Go celebrate the 4th of July like a patriotic American. He's wearing his USA. They're going to be playing 2 countries, I heard, tonight.
Yes.
Bosnia and Herzegovina.
Yep. Hat tip to Chan Jones. That was a good joke.
Doesn't feel fair. Doesn't feel fair.
We'll take them on. Bring it on. We'll take on 2 countries at once.
Peach Pundit, the podcast, is brought to you by the people we call the people who rock. These are our Patreons. They're the ones who voluntarily reach in their pocket and throw us as little as $5 a month. If you want to join them, head on over to patreon.com/peachpundit. Sign up for any one of our tiers. Got an influx of free members. I don't know what you guys think you're getting for free. There's on the Patreon site, it actually says at the $5 level, you start getting benefits. At the $0, you don't get anything. So $5, that's all it takes. You get to join the Signal chat for $5. You'd be part of the community that's growing. Thank you for helping spread the word by liking, subscribing, making a comment, recommending to a friend. The Patreons are Adam Pethel, Tony Westner, Friends and Americans for Prosperity, Amy Davis, several anonymous contributors, including one who wants you to know more about the Alzheimer's Association. Bethany Ballard, Bill Werkheiser, Blake Rollerson, Bo Brandon, Brittany Ellison, Colin Martin, Courtney Cothran, Daniel Shaver, Donald Kirkland, Elizabeth Clare, Manuel Hernandez, Frank Russo, Gabe Hartwick, Jeff Cobble, Greer Howard, Hank Burnham, Harrison Edwards, Hunter Spear, Jacob Hawkins, Jacqueline Harn, James Cooper, James Hall, Jason Bankston, John Vestal, Jordan Reed, JT Marshburn, Justin Wright, Katie Cagle, Ken Pullen. Welcome to the club, Ken Carroll, Kenyatta Mitchell, Lawton Sack, Mark Pettit, Merv Waldrop, Mike Buchert, Natasha Bennett, Randall Trammell, Reed Powell, Robert Lee and our friends at Lee 6 Media, Robert Pruitt, Ron Daniels, Ryan Graham, Ryan Purvis, Sam Thomas, Sergio Ortega, Stuart Wilkinson, Terry Fye, and Whitney Griggs. Thank you to all of our Patreons. Again, head over to patreon.com/peachpundit. Sign up today. That is Buzz Brockway. I am Scott Turner. Peach Pundit is owned and published by me. The music you heard tonight was not by Jason Pye. It was by Suno, the app that makes AI songs. Catch you next week. Happy 4th.
Go Jackets. Happy Independence Day.